Welcome! In this video, I would like to return to the topic of APA-style document formatting and address the creation of citations to both paraphrase data and quotations. Some of my students this semester have had questions about the use of citations, so I'm thinking of them as I create this video, but I hope the information is of interest to you also. Let's get started. Here, I'm displaying a Microsoft Word document in which I've attempted to offer examples of different types of citations. Now, this document goes for a few pages, but I've broken it into sections to make it easier to display on the video screen. A citation identifies the source of data that are included in an academic paper. That data can be paraphrased, meaning reworded in the student's own verbiage, or the data may be quoted, where a verbatim portion of text is duplicated in the student paper. The citations to both types, paraphrased and quoted text, are similar, but there's a couple of interesting little nuances. Paraphrased data might come from a single author, such as the statement, data acquired from a source, and then what is the source? It's Smith, written in the year 2022. It's also possible to identify Smith within the narrative sentence of the body of the paper the student is writing, such as Smith, 2022, reported. Or, while this is true, Smith, 2022, found, or in Smith's 2022 first experiment, etc. So whether the citation comes just as part of the sentence or whether it's actually part of the syntax of the sentence is up to the writer's preference, whichever method seems to create the best flow and the easiest comprehension of the sentence. If two authors wrote a paper that's being cited, the placement of the citation can be parenthetical or it can be narrative. And both authors, when there's two authors, both authors are identified. An ampersand is used in a parenthetical citation, but the word and, A-N-D, is used in a narrative citation. So rather than saying Smith ampersand Malloy reported, the sentence would be Smith and, A-N-D, and Malloy reported. And again, two authors can be cited wholly parenthetically or in narrative form. This gets a little weird. If there were three or more authors, then the first author is named, and then the Latin phrase et al., or actually its abbreviation, et al., is used. And this is spelled E-T space A-L period. And it's the abbreviation for et al. And it means and others. So whether there's 3, 4, 5, 99, 500 authors, 500 is an exaggeration, but I have read papers that have been written by more than 100 authors, particularly in the medical literature during the coronavirus pandemic. It seemed that lots of researchers contributed to the preparation of a paper, and they all wanted their names listed. Now, you know from prior videos that I tell my students to not use quotations in their academic papers. But I recognize that in some disciplines, such as religion, history, sociology, psychology sometimes, quotations are used because there's reporting of specific characters' statements. I happen to teach classes that don't generally lend themselves to that type of analysis, so I tell my students don't use quotations. Reword the material that they acquired during their research and reword it into their own language. Now, if you need to cite a quotation that you're reporting in your paper, a couple of things to keep in mind. You must use the exact wording of the quotation. If there were incorrect verbiage or a grammatical error or whatever error, you repeat that error in your paper. Now, you could later in the paper address that error, but as far as the quotation goes, the quotation is an exact duplication of the content that you acquired, or the quotation the text string that you are quoting. Quotations of fewer than 40 words, so that's from 1 to 39 words, are presented in the body paragraph of your paper and are identified with quotation marks. Here in the United States, we use double quotation marks. I recognize that in some versions of English, a single quotation mark is used, but in APA style, the double quotation mark is used. If the quotation were 40 or more words long, then the entire quotation is set off in its own block paragraph. A block paragraph has the left margin of the paragraph fully indented a half an inch. Not just the first line, the whole paragraph comes in a half inch from the left margin. And subsequent paragraphs within the quotation are additionally have a first line indent of a half inch. I'll show you what this looks like. Here's an example of a parenthetical citation to a quotation that's fewer than 40 words. In other words, the quotation is within the body paragraph and it's identified with quotation marks. And here's the quotation right there. It's then followed by the normal content of a citation, so the author's identification, the year of publication, but also the location of the quoted text in the sourced document. So this is page 470 inside the text that was written by Irvin et al. In the year 2018. Normally, we don't use location identification for paraphrased data, but the location information is necessary for quotation. And then there's a few odd considerations. If the document from which the quotation was taken is not paginated, meaning it doesn't have page numbers, then you may identify the paragraph from which the quotation came, such as period 15, the 15th paragraph within the sourced document. And there are other location identifications available, and they're described fully in the publication manual of the American Psychological Association. What's important to note here, though, is that the citation, the parenthetical citation for the quotation, is included within the sentence that the student has written. So the student effective teams can be difficult to describe because quotation, citation, and then the period that terminates the sentence. The citation can also be made narratively, such as Irvin et al., 2028, stated, then the quotation, and then after the quotation, the location information, page 470. And again, the period follows the final portion of the final portion of the citation. Now, when it comes to quoting 40 or more words, the quotation needs to be in its own block paragraph, separate from the flow of paragraphs in the body of the paper, such as, researchers have studied how people talk to themselves. And then this is the quotation, followed by a full 3-part citation. The authors, year of publication, and the location of the quotation within the authored document. But in this case, note that the citation comes after the terminal punctuation. So here, the last sentence of the quotation is terminated with a period, and then comes the citation. The same is true if a narrative citation to a quotation of more than 40 words is used. In this case, Flores et al., these are the authors, in 2028 described blah, 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 and then here's the quotation terminated with punctuation, so there's a final period, and then the citation. So in general, I tell students citations go within a sentence in the body of the paragraph. But there's an exception. When we have a quotation of 40 or more words that are then presented as their own block paragraph or paragraphs, the citation follows the end of the quotation, including being after the final punctuation. And honestly, I can see why this is the APA style, but I'd be just as happy if this punctuation came after the citation. I'm not here to judge the formatting of APA style. I'm just saying this is a little nuance that you just have to memorize. So I'm going to go back to the preceding page and just reiterate, this is the quotation. And because the quotation comes in multiple paragraphs, the subsequent paragraph is initially indented 1/2 inch, has a first line indentation of 1/2 inch beyond the total left margin indentation of 1/2 inch. All right, moving on. There may come a time when you wish to cite data in your paper that came from the same author or authors and was written or were written in the same year. The way to handle that is by adding alphabetic letters after the year. So, for example, Shikely, 1965, B, And then I go on with my paragraph. Over here, Shickley 1965A. Now, how did I get the A and the B? Well, I had to create my references list. So this references list is sorted in alphabetic order. Shickley and Shickley are the same words. So the next letter is P, and it's P for this one. 1965 and 1965 are the same, but the H of history comes before the P of plagiarism. So now I know the order of the items in my references list, and then I assess the letter A to the first one, the letter B to the second one. If there were a third, it would be the letter C. I go back into the text of my document and add the B and the A where appropriate. Now, this is hard to keep track of, and I think I'm too old to be able to do it anymore in my mind. So I rely on the Zotero program to do this, and Zotero handles these A, B's, C's automatically. So I encourage you to watch my other videos on Zotero and use that software to create your citations and your references lists, because it makes many of these details something you can kind of forget because the software handles it automatically. I hope this review of the use of both parenthetical and narrative citations is helpful to you. I'd like to wish that it's interesting to you, but honestly, this is just something you have to do. I'm not going to try to tell you it's fun. I'm not going to try to tell you it's interesting. Unless you're a professional academic, you probably don't like learning all these details. But they are necessary, and you have to follow these rules when preparing your student papers. Until we meet again, I wish you the absolute best in all of your academic work, and particularly in your application of APA-style formatting to your citations and your references lists. Bye for now. Mika, it's lunchtime, and I have some burger minis for you, and some snaps, and I think you're going to like all these. These are pretty darn good, aren't they? And you take everything so gently from my fingers. Oh, you're such a pleasure to have at lunchtime. What a nice dog you are. You're so good, so gentle. And I know these are your favorite kind of lunchtime snacks. You're a good girl.